Hi, my darlings. I'm Sophie Darling, and welcome back to the channel. If you love anime, heartfelt reactions, and deep dives into symbolism and themes, then you're in the right place. Before we jump into today's reaction, don't forget to hit that like button to show some love, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a moment of fun. And if you want even more exclusive content like early access to my reactions, full-length anime watch-alongs, and an amazing community of fellow anime lovers, please do check out my Patreon. You can find a link in the description box below. Your support truly means the world as it helps to keep these reactions coming, and I'd love to have you join our cozy little anime family. Today, we are reacting to episode 17 of series 4 of Attack on Titan, and oh boy, everything is about to kick off. I knew it was a matter of time before they would have to show their faces. As to how this is all going to play out, I'm nervous. I think we're going to possibly lose a few characters, not necessarily main characters in terms of our squad, but possibly some of the warriors. And if we do lose them, it's going to be devastating because I adore Peak. I hate the Cart Titan design, but I think Pete is such a sweet angel. Honestly, I'm going to be devastated if we lose her. Reiner, I think, is safe for the time being. I think eventually Reiner may die this series just as kind of a shock factor, but also his whole character arc is designed around being the hero, protecting those he cares and loves about. And I feel like the best way for him to kind of go out is protecting his comrades, is sacrificing himself to save their lives. That seems like the ideal way for Reiner to pass and would do his character justice. As to whether that happens, I don't know. I can't predict what's going to happen. I've been quite good at guessing what I think is going to happen. But with Reiner, it's anyone's guess as to whether he does get killed off or whether he survives to the end. I think he still has a fundamental role to play in terms of establishing peace or helping to establish peace. We also haven't seen him interact with like Historia since series 2, and he had a lot of love for Historia. And if we want to go off foreshadowing, maybe the whole one day I'll marry her could be apt, but she is already pregnant with somebody else's baby, so probably not. But the whole I'm gonna marry that girl maybe could come into fruition. It's not a theory that I'm running with, but you could argue that there is foreshadowing there for a romance between the two of them, even though I'm still angry that we don't have the Historia Ymir romance because she was killed off screen, and I will kind of never forgive Isayama for that because she deserved better. She deserved more screen time. Her death deserved some justice, some dignity, instead of it just being shown in pretty much a flashback. It was kind of a low blow, but it is what it is. Either way, I think Reiner still has a fundamental role to play. Hawko, not so much. Peak, not so much. So I think those are fair game for being killed off in the next couple of episodes. Reiner, not necessarily just yet. He could die before the series is out, but I don't think he'll die in the next few episodes because fundamentally, I still think he has an important role to play. And if he is going to die, as I said, it's going to be sacrificing himself for Falco or for Gabby or for both. He's too linked to those characters, so if he is going to die, if they do kill him off, it will be in relation to Falco or Gabby or both of them, just because of how often that they've shown up alongside Reiner, and Reiner's dedication to protecting these kids is what motivates and drives him forward, but also the fact that the only reason they're here is to essentially save Gabby and Falco. So I am scared. I am nervous. I'm also not sure what's going on with Levi at the minute. We haven't seen Levi since the cart blew up. Zeke's being carried away in a Titan's belly. Probably towards Eren because they're honed in on the coordinate through the pathways, which is what Zeke has said. So my prediction is that this Titan is protecting Zeke, but also is trying to transport him to Eren so then they can trigger the rumbling. I'm not sure how it's going to play out, but I just want to know if Levi's okay. I think he is, but we're just kind of left in the dark as to what's going on at the moment. I'm not going to ramble though, because I really want to watch this next episode. So I'm going to keep this intro short because we'll have a long outro discussing episode 17. But without further ado, we're going to get into episode 17. I'm so scared and nervous though. Fuck off, is he dead?
リヴァイ兵長何があったか知らねえけど運がいい一番の脅威が
No, he's not. Okay. He's just severely injured, but he's not
死
dead.
んでるよ
No,
至
what?
近距離から雷槍の爆発を受けたんだ外傷以上に内臓がズタズタになって
No,
即死
he's not. She's lying to cover for him. He's not dead. I'm in
見せてく
denial.
ださい
He's not dead. He's not dead. Hanji's covering because they know that they'll kill Levi because he's a threat to them.
死んだのか
He's not
いや
dead.
普通蒸気が吸い込まれるように消えたりしない
What the hell? It's like dissolved. Is Zeke absorbing it to make himself stronger? He's like born again. Oh god. It's like a rebirth. For someone that doesn't want to be born and wants the audience to be sterilized, he's been reborn. What has he seen? His eyes are like... Go, Hanji, go! He's seen something.
何があったんですか
The future.
わからない知らない
The
少女
past.
土をこねて俺の体を作った
Ymir was in the same
何年もそうしていたよう
place.
な気もするし一瞬だったような
Ymir
気もする
saw this in series 2.
そうかあれが道なのか
He's just balls to the wind right now. Not a care in the world.
進むだけだよなエレン
Who's the girl? Is this an intro? I don't know if this is an intro. There's no option to skip it, so I guess I'm gonna watch it through. But who's the girl that's building the body? We know that Ymir was in the same place. She saw the pathways. She was in that weird desert as well when her body was transforming from a pure titan into a shifter after she ate Marcel. She saw the exact same thing. She saw the pathways. Now Zeke has seen the pathways, but who's the girl? We haven't seen her before, or have we? Have we seen her before? Why do I have a feeling we've seen her in series 3? Or someone that looks like her in series 3? So I thought we'd seen this girl before, essentially in episode 20 of series 3, but it's hard to tell. There's a young girl who they said our ancestor Ymir Fritz, and she's like stood in front of this pure titan, but it's an artistic sketch. It's not an actual depiction of Ymir. So I'm not entirely sure who this young girl is that's rebuilding Zeke's body, but if we're going off of the fact that the pathways are linked to Ymir and they're linked to the founding titan and they're connected to Ymir, could it be Ymir that we're seeing rebuilding the body? Because if she's the founder, if she's the creator of the subjects of Ymir, does she linger in this weird in-between space where she rebuilds them? She helps them back onto the path of where they need to be if their time isn't up. But I've gone back to glimpse at episode 20 of series 3 because we got a glimpse of Ymir Fritz in that episode, but it's a stylistic sketch. So it's not like an actual character design. It's stylized. So it's really hard to tell if there's similarities between them other than the fact that they're both depicted as young. So if we go off of the age that we see in series 3 episode 20 of the young girl, and we go off the age here, they could be the same person. It could be Emiya, it could be the founder. But I always thought she would have been older, because one of my theories was that Emiya is a crucial part of the royal bloodline, as in she had children with the first king and they subsequently formed the royal bloodline, but then the subjects of Emiya also originate from Emiya. I originated from Emiya. Did she make them? Like, did she craft them? You know how, like, she's rebuilded Zeke's body? Did she do that? Or did she just pump out a bunch of children with various different men to form the subjects of Emiya? Because there's two bloodlines. There's the bloodline that is the royal bloodline, then there's the bloodline that's the subjects of Emiya, and then also thinking back to the timeline that I did at the beginning of series 3, Zachary, when he's torturing a noble, said to him that you have slave blood. And I've always wondered if slave blood infers those who are the subjects of Emiya, that the noble bloodline sees themselves as above the subjects of Emiya, the regular subjects of Emiya, because they maybe originate from splits in the royal bloodline, like children of the royal bloodline who weren't the heir split off to then marry, and then they form like the noble houses. That's the way that I see it, is that the nobles in the show are descended from the royal bloodline, but they're not heirs because they're not counted upon to continue the royal bloodline. And it also could be that the more they marry out of the royal bloodline, the more it filters out of them. So then they no longer are connected to the royal bloodline, but they may be descended from it at one point and cling to that, because the distinction of you have slave blood is what one of the nobles said to Zachary, is striking a divide between him and themselves, almost as if there's two bloodlines. There's the royal/noble bloodline, which originates from the first king and possibly the first king and Emiya, because she has the founding titan ability. She's the founder. So she has to have had children within the royal family for her lineage to have continued. The founding titan is kept within the royal family for a reason, because Emiya must have had children with the first king at some point in order for that to have passed down. Her children would have inherited it from her, and they would have then passed it on. That's the only logical way that this works. As somebody that lives in a country where we have a monarchy, it's the only logical way that it works, is that she's had children with the first king, that's formed the royal family, possibly from there split off to form the nobles, but as they've married, the bloodline's diluted, so they're no longer as connected to the first king and also Emiya herself. They're still of the bloodline, but not as strong. I don't know how it works. It's just there has to be a distinction, because the nobles are very like, you're slave blood, you're not royal blood. It's very much inferred that there's a distinction between their blood and the noble blood, aka the noble and the royal bloodline. The noble bloodline could be a completely separate thing, but I think it has to be linked to also the royal bloodline somewhere. So Emiya must have had children with the first king at some point for the founding titan to have been passed on, right? But then for all the other audience to exist, she's either pumped out children with other people to form the rest of the population, or she's made them, which would then throw into question the whole we should never have been born, because if they weren't actually born, they were created, then technically it holds true that they were never meant to be, they were never meant to exist. If they were actually born because she's pumped out a bunch of kids, then that's completely different. But if she's made them, that throws kind of a spanner into the whole we're special because we're born, because they weren't technically born that way. I don't think it could be that way. I think she must have had children outside of the royal lineage, and that's formed the general population of the Aldean people. But I always pictured her as older because if she's having kids, I pictured her as like a woman, but she's constantly depicted as a kid, like a child, young. So it's quite jarring because the image we see in series 3, episode 20, matches with the girl that we're seeing building Zeke's body. But if that's Ymir, then how does that correlate with Ymir having had children? You know what I mean? It feels very disjointed. I'm sure it will all make sense because they've brought this girl up for a reason, so they're going to obviously expand upon her and explain it further. But I don't know, just the connection to the pathways, the connection to building and creativity, and also having gone back to episode 20 of series 3, because I thought we saw an image of Ymir in that episode, so I thought I'd go back and have a look, but we didn't. It was a stylistic sketch, but even based on the height and the age depiction in the stylistic sketch, you could maybe confidently say that that's Ymir, but until the show confirms it, I'm not 100% sure. But either way, Levi's alive, thank God. I was getting a bit concerned, but it became very obvious when he said, oh, I'll put a hole in his head. Hanji's protecting him because she knows that they're going to take him out because they just said, oh, our strongest enemy is a bloody mess. So they see him as a threat, which is correct. They should. Levi's not to be messed with. Even injured, Levi's not to be messed with. Hanji's protecting him. Hanji knows that they'll try and kill him. So Hanji's doing whatever she can to make sure that Levi survives this, and has used Zeke's rebirth as a way to get out. Zeke has seen something. Zeke has connected somehow with the pathways when he's being rebuilt, because he's saying all we can do is move forward, right, Eren? But it's his eyes. It's striking. It's almost like when we see Frida and Yuri when they're being sort of dictated to by another influence. It's very reminiscent of that. I could be wrong. I also don't know if this is an intro because there's no skip button. So because there's no skip button, I'm going to watch it. It could just be an epic montage to the beginning, but there's no skip. Usually with an intro, there's a skip. So I feel like it's something I need to watch. I think it is an intro, mind. Okay, no, it's an intro. I feel like it's giving too much away. It's an intro. I don't know why they wouldn't allow me to skip that. I'm going to skip it myself, personally, because there were a few things there already that I'm like, this is very heavy foreshadowing to the rumbling, and I feel like it's going to give too much away, so I've skipped it. I watched like 2 seconds, and I was like, this is cool, and then I was like, no! It's like, I feel like this is giving a little bit too much information, too much symbolism and foreshadowing. I can't wait to watch them at the end. I will stress that. I will watch them at the end. Once the show is finished. But Flock has Zeke, and they're going for Eren, so... we could see the rumbling very soon. No. Of course she's not.
一緒に戦ってきた仲間を信じている。ピークとガリアードが奴の位置を暴いた。
Rhino is ready. He's locked in.
ここで奴を終わりにしてやる。
Oh my god, so many people are parachuting in as well. Holy shit. Oh, it's heavy artillery. she can't transform. He's gonna keep moving. He's not gonna make the same mistake he made last time. Safely transporting her away. That's part of their mission.
まさかマーレが捨て身の奇襲をかけてくるとは。奴らの持つ情報だけじゃこんな危険を冒す判断はできないはず。
室内に身を隠し、潜水の力で地下から逃げるのです。このまま戦っても分が悪い。
Will his pride allow him? Probably not. But I think he knows how this all plays out anyway. Either his pride or he already knows what the end result is going to be, so he doesn't care. Look at him strutting his way on in.
来いよ、ライナー。
Oh god!
お前なんだろう。マーレ軍にこんなバカなまでさせたのは。
Oh wow, okay. They've been surprised and caught off guard. Because I think he already knows how this is gonna play out. Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. It's really hard because I'm kind of rooting for Reiner here. I love Eren, but I'm kind of rooting for Reiner because I love Reiner. Shit. Okay. Of course he did. For you. He was so worried. He really does care for them. Despite everything. Despite everything he's been taught. He wants to protect them as much as he can because he sees them as family, as comrades.
なんだと
I don't want Colt to die either.
ライナーの危惧に従いここまで来たが、始祖の力を敵が行使する可能性は
Not without Zeke.
わかりません。しかし、始祖の力が彼らの切り札であることは間違いありません。
何か発動条件があるのか。
She knows.
始祖の巨人と王家の血を引く巨人
Gabby remembers. She was
マーレから
listening.
撤退する飛行船の中でジークがそう話しているのを聞きました。
どういうことだ。ジークが王家の血を引く巨人ということか。
復権派の指導者が両親なら、あるいは
始祖の力が使えない理由がジークの不在と関係があるなら、
They have to find
エ
Zeke.
レンとジークを接触させてはなりません。
いや、マーレを守る盾ではない。
Protecting the
今我々
world
の肩には世界の
from
命
the
運がかか
rumbling.
っている。我々は決して始祖を殺し、問題を先送りにはしない。今ここで始祖を食らい、2000年の遺恨に終止符を打つ。
Zeke's on his way because Flock has him, so could the rumbling happen this episode? Fuck me. Oh, come on, Reiner. Come on, Reiner. He knew. What the fuck is... Oh, the Warhammer Titan. I was like, what the fuck is that? Warhammer Titan.
お前は一人じゃ脅威にならない。もう観念しろ。お前はここまでだ。
I don't think it is the end for Eren, though. God, Reiner's face is a mess. Oh! like, not on my watch. Pika's like, absolutely fucking not, Aaron, sit down. Following the raid where the Cart Titan's turret gear was damaged, new gear was designed to defeat the founding Titan. It improves upon the anti-Titan artillery appropriated from the Mid-East allied forces by being designed to penetrate through even Titan hardening. God damn, they've come prepared. Because they were caught off guard by the Mid-East allied forces in episode 1 of series 4 when they realized just how strong their anti-Titan artillery was. So the fact that they have now revolutionized their own weaponry on their Titans themselves is genius. You can't fault it. It's genius. It really is. They've taken what was their weakest disadvantage and weaponized it for themselves. Wow. Wow. Holy shit, this is so good.
脳みそが親しい進撃の運動能力が低下しました。
お見事です、マガト隊長。
変水だ。
Good shot.
よもや一番まともな砲手が最高指揮官になるとは。マーレ軍も落ちるところまで落ちたものだ。
It gives them a chance to get out. Holy shit! Sitting ducks. Oh my god.
嘘だろ。あれの首脳陣は皆殺しにしたはず。
Evidently
一
not.
月足らずで立て直せるはずだ。
あなたは他の人と
Yelena
違
did
う。
not anticipate this strength, this
あな
show
た
of
は特
force.
別。
I'm so scared that Porco's going to die. Oh my god.
忘れるな。この奇襲作戦はビリー・タイバーの犠牲の上にある。彼
He's
が
avenging
命を
Willie?
懸け伝えたように、我々には真の英雄ヘイロスが必要なのだ。世界を救う英雄が。
My flabber is gasted. What the fuck is going on? Eren has to have something in mind.
お前の負けだ。
We haven't seen
これ以上
Eren inside and how he's dealing with this, so he's got a plan up his sleeve.
苦し
Absolutely.
まなくていい。
He's gonna let them out?
おにゃんこぽん。おい、外はどうなってる？約500の兵に鎧、アギト、車力が同時に。それをエレンが一人で相手にしている。始祖がマーレに奪われる。手を貸してくれ。みんなでエレンを援護するんだ。先んじゃねえ
They've already lost so much protecting Eren, so will they step up now?
俺たちが従うと思ったのか。裏切り者のくせに。
すまない。だが家に逆らえば頭を吹っ飛ばされるだけだ。
もう裏切られるのは飽きてんだぜ俺は。
His anger is so justified.
ベルトルト、兄、エレン。もう飽きた。
How much more can they take?
なんで俺たちがエレンに加勢して子供を作れねえ体になんなきゃ。
Connie lost his entire family, and now you want him to sacrifice the idea of never having a family of his own.
聞こうよ、コニー。
ワインのことや安楽死計画なんて他の義勇兵と同じように。
俺たちはイエレナから口止めされていた。義勇兵にワインのことは言うなと。
何よりエルディア人の安楽死なんて協力したくない。俺たちはパラディ島を発展させて一緒にマーレを倒してほしかった。この
He's
島
gone
のみんな
against
のため
Yelena.
に尽くしてきた。それはこの島に未来があると信じていたからやれたんだ。子供は未来だ。安楽死計画が実現してしまったら俺たちがやってきたことは何になるん
Exactly.
だ。
It's just ethnic cleansing.
信じてくれ。
What's the point of fighting if there's no future for them to look forward to? Just a quiet, slow death.
以前君はこう言った。ユミルの民を含め人々は皆求められたから存在する。いろんな奴がいた方が面白いからだってね。君という人は まるでジークの思想に反した姿勢を見せてきた。当たって。
Armin, my boy. He wants to rebuild paradise with the rest of the world in tow.
がどうする？エレンとジークに手を貸すということは安楽死計画を実現させるということだぞ。
少なくとも一度は地ならしの威力を世界に見せつけてやらないと。
Oh my god.
地ならしの威力をだと？
We're gonna get it, aren't we?
エレンを助けたいの。
Imagine she says no.
助けたい。
I was gonna say, imagine she went no.
それはきっと
Fuck Aaron.
エレンが言ったように私がアッカーマンだから。
I don't think it's solely because of that.
自分の意志じゃない。
I think it plays a role, but I don't think it's.
それはエレンの
Thank
考えた
you.
嘘だと思う。
I said this. I still think you
なんで
have an
嘘だと思う？
element of free will.
なんでって。エルディア人が子供を作れなくなることをエレンが望んでるって、みんな本気でそう思ったの？
No. He's going along with it to get Zeke to comply with the rumbling. Again, I said this.
確かに奴らしくないとは思ったが、ありえない。
It is outrageous. He puts so much stock in the idea of being born and being important because you're born. Why would he side with Zeke?
最終的に始祖の力をどう使うかはエレン次第だ。断ればイエレナはどんな手段を使ったかわからない。
God, the OST.
承諾したと見せて、自分は味方だと思い込ませることができたなら、地ならしてこの島を守ることができる。パラディ島は今後50年は誰にも手出しされない。
But how many people are going to die in the process is something you have to weigh into this. Then again, it's for self-preservation, self-protection, but... Oh my god. This is only going to push him further to do the rumbling. Because they've attacked Paradise once more. So this is just further justification for them to do what they need to do to protect themselves and protect their people. But fuck. Oh, everything Armin's saying is stuff I've already said. Eren cannot side with Zeke on this. He doesn't believe in it. He's just saying whatever needs to be said in order to achieve his ultimate goal, to push forward. Oh my god, I am like blown away. The fact that it hasn't honed in on Eren inside of the Titan during all of this makes me think there's a plan. Eren has a plan. Eren knows what he's about to do next. Because it seems very odd that they haven't shown us Eren, as if Eren's up to something. It's baiting us into thinking that Eren's losing, that he's allowed his pride and his ego to get the better of him. Whereas I don't think that's the case. I think he knows how this is going to play out already, or he already has a plan in place in his mind as to what to do next. Maybe I'm giving Eren too much credit here, but I just find it very significant that they don't show us Eren's expressions within the Titan. They keep that very secretive and they kind of refrain from doing that because we see Porco, we see Reiner's, we saw Eren's at the beginning, but we don't see it now that he's cornered, now that he's at risk of losing. Why is that? Because there's something else happening. It's making us think that there's a potential outcome where Eren could lose, where Eren may not be successful. And that's not the case at all. No, don't buy it. Don't buy it. I had to get rid of that intro real quick though, because I know that the rumbling's coming, but I don't want to see glimpses of it before it happens. And as soon as I started seeing those colossal titans, I was like, ah, shit. I was like, this intro is going to have too much foreshadowing, too much symbolism for me to just ignore it. So I thought it best to kind of skip it for now. I can completely understand where poor Connie is coming from. He's so angry, feels so betrayed by everybody. It feels as if no one is honest with him because every time they think they know what's going on, they're blindsided. They're not told the truth. And they thought they could trust Eren. They thought that Eren was their beloved comrade, much in the same way that they trusted Reiner, Annie, and Bertold as beloved comrades, and then they betrayed them. But I think it's even worse when it's Eren, because Eren is somebody that has always been there, has been steadfast. They've fought so many battles to protect him, to keep him safe, to rescue him, to bring him back, even risk their lives going to Marley when Eren goes there without telling them. They wouldn't do that if they didn't care for him. So they have lost and sacrificed so much for him that they almost are angry when they're asked to do it again. Because it's like, well, he didn't care about us when he's locked us away in here. He did put our lives at risk in Marley. We lost Sasha because of him. So why should we care? Why should we go in and fulfill his inevitable goal, his wishes? I can completely understand where Connie is coming from. I really do. As much as I think Eren is pushing them away and mistreating them all as a means of protecting them, he doesn't want them at risk in terms of being involved in his plans. But if it's not because he doesn't want them involved, because he doesn't want to risk their lives, because again, he said that they're his most precious comrades. He wants them to live long lives. He doesn't want them to sacrifice themselves to take the founding titan to begin with. So it does very much seem like he's keeping them at arm's length, making them hate him, because it's easier to go on and do what needs to be done, to be the enemy, if the people you love and care about most are safe, even if they hate you in the long run. It's easier to do it than to feel like you're betraying the people you love and care for by keeping them alongside and then betraying them by doing something that they find morally reprehensible, something that they cannot agree with. So I think he's pushing them away to make it easier for himself to do what needs to be done, to push forward, to move forward, because there's no distractions, there's no emotional ties to stop him or to blindside him or waylay him. He thinks it's A, safer to keep them at a distance for their protection, but B, easier for him to go on to do what he needs to do, knowing that they're safe, but also not being sidetracked by emotional sentimentality, because he's pushed them away so that they despise and hate him, and he finds that easier to deal with than love and admiration, which is again why I think he was so harsh to Mikasa, why he said that he hated her and has hated her since childhood. He knows how loyal she is, how attached she is to him, and it's easier for him to protect her if he can make her hate him, if he can push her away, if he can make her detach herself from that connection to him. I think this is all to protect them. I think he doesn't want them to get caught up in the crossfire. I think he also knows how difficult it will be to push forward if he feels like they're emotionally connected to him, that they love and trust and admire him so much that may cause him to have a sway in judgment, to not put his life at risk, to not do what needs to be done, and to get blood on his hands to bring peace to all of humanity, not just Paradise, because I don't think it is just about Paradise in terms of Eren's ultimate goals. I think it's designed to unite the world as a whole. I don't think it's just for the audience. I think it's for everybody. I think it's to prevent war from ever happening again. But fundamentally, I think he's less likely to push forward and take risks if he feels like his friends are going to be in danger, but also if he feels that their emotions could sway him. So it's easier to do what needs to be done if he's cold and distant and pushes them away and makes them hate him. Because if they hate him, he's like, okay, cool, they already hate me, so what difference does this make? Whereas before, it would maybe sway his judgment, cause him to maybe doubt his path forward. So I don't think Eren is honest in terms of his hatred, and I think his mistreatment of them is designed to protect them in his way. That they don't understand yet that that's what he's doing, but they'll eventually come to a point where they realize. I think Armin's already at that point. Armin's like, I know Eren better than anyone. I know Eren better than I probably know myself. And even he's starting to go here like, that's a lie. I don't think Eren's agreeing with Zeke. I don't think he's doing this to prevent Aldians from having children. I don't think he's changed. I think he's trying to protect us. I think Armin's clocked on to that. Armin recognizes that the true Eren is still there. He's just doing whatever he can to protect his most loved and cherished comrades. I am so nervous as to the next episode because, again, we know Zeke is on the way with Flock. We know Hanji and Levi have got away, but they shot at the water, so we don't actually know if Hanji's come out unscathed from that, but still. And if we may be getting the rumbling in the next episode, because Eren's kind of backed into a corner, and the only way that I can think of him actually getting out of this is triggering the rumbling. Yeah, I'm terrified. I'm terrified. I think that's all I have to say for now, primarily because this was just a very action-packed episode. There was a lot going on, and I feel like I've touched on all the key things, but maybe I have missed something. But either way, what an amazing episode. I just love Peak. I love Peak more and more. She's an absolute icon. She's an absolute queen. And I said, oh my God, look at Peak go, but it's not Peak that's shooting. She's just sort of the carrier. It's Magath that shot Eren. So you know what? Credit to Magath. Go Magath. Great shot. It's so hard to root for anybody though, because I love Reiner and I love Eren. And I hate seeing them fight because I really can't quite pick a side here. I think Paradise has every right to self-defense and self-preservation, and technically Marley have struck them. So, you know, it's fair game for them to wipe out the soldiers that have infiltrated and invaded their hometown for what technically the third time, because we had the first time, which resulted in Eren's mom dying. Then we had Tross, and then actually this would be the fourth because Zeke also then infiltrated after Tross. So technically this is the fourth time Marley have invaded. So in terms of fairness, they've only invaded Marley once, and that was mostly Eren. So technically Paradise fundamentally hasn't caused anywhere near as much atrocities and destruction as Marley. I still just don't agree with Flock's indiscriminate killing of civilians, and I will die on that hill. I think his attitude towards the Malian citizens is absolutely reprehensible, but I can also understand why Paradise has the right to self-defense, and I will never say that they don't have the right to self-defense, because they do. They have the utmost right to defend themselves from being wiped out and ethnically cleansed for revenge and resources. So I will be on Paradise's side in relation to that. I just can't be a Jaegerist. It doesn't align with me morally. I think it's a very dangerous, slippery slope towards fascism if you go the Jaegerist route. And I don't think even Eren's a Jaegerist. I think Eren is using the movement that's rallied behind him to fulfill his own goals, but I don't think he actually believes or aligns fully with them. I think he does in terms of he wants the audience to be free. He doesn't want them to be oppressed anymore. But the idea of building the empire and rebuilding that requires conquering territory. And there were a few conversations where people have said, oh, Aldean Empire is just what it used to be called. I don't buy that. You kind of need to look into what the term empire means. Empire is in relation to the nation. So the nation is Aldia. Empire is the expansive territory that they've conquered and ruled over. So empire isn't the name. Aldia is the name. The Aldean Empire is all the territory and land that they have conquered and brought under their control and under their rule. For example, when we refer to Rome, we're referring to Rome as a city-state. When we refer to the Roman Empire, we're talking about when Rome expanded and collectively took over numerous countries and expanded their influence. The empire is the conquered territories, including Rome, that are under their control. But Rome as an entity before becoming an empire was a city-state. So that's the difference. You would have referred to yourself as a Roman from Rome. You wouldn't have referred to yourself as the Roman Empire, much in the same way they see themselves as Aldeans or subjects of Emir. They wouldn't refer to themselves as the Aldean Empire. The Aldean Empire is inherently linked to this idea of conquering and retaking territory. And we tend to overlook that. People keep arguing that it's just what it used to be called in the past. No, it's not. It's not. What it is inferring the empire, the territory, the people that they colonized, invaded, took over, and ethnically cleansed to steal their land. That's what it's referring to. That collective control of other states, of other nations. It's not referring to Aldia, the nation. It's referring to the collective conquered territories that made up the empire, which they then subsequently lost after the Great Titan War. But that's what it's referring to. So when they say the Aldean Empire, it's not about reestablishing Aldia as an independent, unoppressed nation. It's about expanding and taking back the empire that they lost. Hence why it's something that I cannot align myself with, because the concept of it requires, again, conquering, invading, ethnic cleansing, taking over people as you did in the past. It's replicating history and it's repeating history. And the reason why it comes up again through the new Jaegerist movement is because it's meant to show that history is cyclical. What happened in the past, the mistakes of the past, come back into the present and they are repeated. They aren't learning from them. And that's what they're emphasizing here. The Jaegerists are not learning from the past and they're not learning from history. Therefore, they are doomed to repeat it. Go back to Sasha's father, where Sasha's father says, children that wander for too long in the forest become lost and they can't see any other way out. The Jaegerists are the children lost in the forest. They're the ones that cannot see any other way other than violence, other than revenge, other than taking back what was once theirs. They don't want to look for alternative solutions. They don't want to look for diplomatic approaches. And I'm not advocating here that Paradise doesn't defend itself, that it doesn't go to war. I'm not saying that at all. People seem to get me twisted on that all the time. I am not arguing that. But if they are going to go to war, they need to look at also other alternative methods to establishing peace inevitably. They have the right to defend themselves. They have the right to protect themselves. I have said this from day dot. But they also need to be open to the idea of establishing peace and connection with the rest of the world at some point in time. They have to look for alternative routes. The Jaegerists aren't interested in that, or at least half the Jaegerists aren't, because there's already friction in the Jaegerist movement between those that want to reestablish the empire and those that don't, because that was shown on the title cards. So yes, I can't align myself with the Jaegerists, at least not Flock and his version of what he wants the world to be. You can argue to the cows come home that you agree with Flock. I will never agree with him. I think he's an interesting character, but morally I find him absolutely reprehensible and I could never side with him, and that's perfectly fine. We all have favorite characters for a reason. I think he's interesting. I think his backstory is interesting, but I can't align myself morally with him. I can't see myself supporting him because I think his view and perspective of the world is very akin to a fascist ideology and the dangers of fascism, because we overlook it as him wanting to protect his people, as him wanting to avenge his people and establish their safety in the world. We make excuses for Flock's behavior, but we shouldn't be making excuses for Flock's behavior, because Flock's behavior is very dangerous. His philosophy of thinking is dangerous. He is very happy to arrest and beat people whose ideology doesn't align with his own, who speak out against him. He's very quick to dehumanize Malian civilians, which means he doesn't see them as people, doesn't see them as worth empathizing with. He wants to rebuild the Aldean Empire, and he is the first person we hear in Series 4 discuss the idea of the Aldean Empire. And again, Aldean Empire, words are important here. It is not referring to the nation of Aldia. It is referring to the collective territories that they used to rule. Empire is a really important word that I really need people to grasp onto here. Aldean Empire, not Aldean nation. If they were referring to just the nation, they would just say Aldia. They're not. They're saying Aldean Empire for a reason. And again, we also know from the title cards that that's part of their motivation, is to reclaim the territory that used to be theirs and bring it back under their collective control after wiping out Marley. But the dehumanization is also a very crucial ideology that is a stepping stone to fascism. Once you start dehumanizing civilians, you're dehumanizing innocents. And that's a slippery slope into justifying ethnic cleansing, war crimes. We are seeing this in the real world today. And I cannot talk about it in depth because YouTube does limit videos. So I have to be very careful with the words that I speak, but we are seeing that today. And that is because of people who have an ideology like Flock, where they will use the dehumanization of innocence to justify all sorts of atrocities in the name of revenge. Because I think it's been very clear that we are not supposed to align fully with the Jaegerists. We can understand the need for protection and self-preservation. We can support the idea of protecting your people, protecting your nation. But when it starts branching into colonization, justifying the idea of wiping out innocent civilians because you see them as the enemy, you start to enter the slippery slope of becoming the oppressor once more, instead of being the oppressed. You can justify them defending themselves because they are oppressed, they are mistreated, they are at risk of being ethnically cleansed. But once they start to switch the trajectory back towards the idea of becoming colonizers, conquerors, oppressing others to avenge what's happened to them, they're no longer the oppressed, they are the oppressors once more. History is cyclical. History repeats itself. Marley were the oppressed. They became the oppressors. Aldia could end up going the same way. And I believe they would go that way if the Jaegerists were in charge. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. But thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this react, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below to help boost this video into the algorithm. And until next episode, bye!